I'm gonna see if any one of you can say goodbye to me in my language. Now, Botswana has all these, the flag has three colors. The blue color is, it represents water, rain. We depend so much on rain for sustainability. And then the white, and the white represents peace, that we are a very peaceful country. For the longest time, we've been one of the most peaceful country in the world for the longest time. And then the black is very obvious, you know, because we are Africans and we are black, so we have to put that in our flag. So about Botswana, we are located in the southern part of Africa, and we are only 2.3 million. That's just it, 2.3 million. We have a huge piece of land full of so many people, but there's only 2.3 million of us. And then we are a semi-desert, meaning we have a lot of underground water. And the desert comes mostly from Namibia, the Namib Desert. And the Namib Desert is the oldest desert in the world. If you can look that up, you'll read more about it. But that desert flows into my country. And the capital city of my country is called Gaborone. 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 That's the city. As you can see, that's just part of the city. It's a big city, and a lot more skyscrapers, and it's just beautiful. And the reason why I'm showing you this picture is because a lot of people have this view that the media has shown them that in Africa is just the wild, it's a forest, you know, people are walking around in animal clothes and stuff, animal leather, whatever. But we actually have cities, we actually have almost everything that first world and second world countries have. So I'll move on. Now, I'm not saying what you see on TV is wrong. All I'm saying is that it's not everything that we have in Africa. We do have the city and we have the village. I'll get to the village. Let me continue on the city since I already talked about it. Now, this is another part of Gaborone. This is the new side of Gaborone. It's called CBD, and they're still constructing, they're still building more skyscrapers, and you know, it's gonna be beautiful. So look it up in end of this year, just look it up and see how it looks. And then at the bottom, that picture that you see is just the building. It's this building at night, basically. And it's very beautiful. They have all these beautiful neon lights and colors and everything. And then to the left of your screen, to the left of your screen is the village. Now this is my home village, but this is my cousin's place. So I grew up in a similar setup. In a house like this, my grandmother built this house herself, all by herself, a similar house like this. And then the house at the back is kind of like, it's the brick house. It's a modern kind of building. But this house is built with clay, nothing but clay, as you can see outlined here. And it's clay and cow dung. So we'll get to a point where I talk about cows, but we have a lot of cows and we use cow dung to build our houses and to, you know, decorate and have all these different colors. It's fascinating. It smells bad, but it's still beautiful. Just you ignore the smell. And then right at the bottom, we have the donkey cart. That we still use donkey carts, surprisingly. This is a two-wheeler, but if you want to go fancy, you buy a four-wheeled donkey cart, and you know, you can have your family in there, and you have 4 donkeys. It's an experience and a half. And then we're gonna look at our economy. So Botswana is rich in diamonds. When I say rich in diamonds, I mean stinking rich. The diamond you see here, Sewelo, it's called Sewelo. Now, Sewelo means something you stumbled upon by chance and it's something that is rare. And currently, this is the largest diamond, the biggest diamond in the world since 1905. So I don't know how long, it's been what, a century, almost a century. They found this diamond in my country, the biggest in the world so far. But unfortunately, it doesn't cost, it's not that expensive because it's a black diamond, it's different. So it only costs about between 6.5 million pula, which is about $600,000, between $600,000 and $1 million. And it was recently bought by Louis Vuitton in January. They haven't disclosed how much they spent on it, so that's why there's an estimate. It was recently bought by Louis Vuitton. And then this one was another one of the largest diamonds before Sewelo. So it's called Lesedi la Rona, and Lesedi la Rona means our light. And it was sold for 53 million pula, which is about 530, it's about $5 million. Yes, it was sold for $5 million. So that's how we sustain ourselves, and that's why our economy is a little stronger. And the next thing in our economy is the cattle. Surprisingly, we have more cows than people. I know, it's surprising. But if the cows were to take over right now, they would win the battle. We have more cows than people, and we use our cows for different purposes. And by the way, I used to look after cows when I was a little boy. It's fun. We use our cows for breeding. Like this cow is specifically for breeding. You can see how big and strong it is. Everybody wants a big and strong cow, and there's a reason for that. It's for selling to the Botswana Meat Commission so that they could export the beef. And we export our beef to South Africa, United Kingdom, Israel, and Belgium. Those are our top markets. And also it's for family sustainability. Almost every family has cows. And if you run out of money, you sell a cow, life goes on. If you run out of food, you kill a cow, you have meat. I apologize to anyone who's vegetarian, but we eat a lot of meat in my country. I don't want to get into that. And then the last thing is bride price. So we still pay bride price or dowry. Some call it lobola. So if I want to get married right now to somebody from my country, my uncle has to take his cows and my cows or my father's cows and pay the bride's family to thank them for raising and grooming a beautiful bride for me. And so it's more like a consolation. It's like, we are taking your child away from you. So here are some cows for you to, sustain yourself. But today they use money instead of cows. So they would find an equivalent, like one cow can cost $800. So maybe if I get a bride, I will not tell you what kind of bride, but there are some brides that are more expensive. I'll spend about 16 cows for the bride. So that's almost, I don't know how much, you can do the math. 800 times 16. That's it on cows. And then the third and most important thing in our economy is tourism. We have a lot of animals. We have a lot of land to even to accommodate those animals. And the zebras, or zebras as some may say it, but we call it the zebra. The zebras are our main animal. They represent our country. As you can see, they look similar to our flag. All they need is a little bit of blue, and they will represent us very well. And tourism brings about 24 billion pula every year. But so in dollars, it's $80 million every year. And this is just the direct thing. We have other means of tourism, we have other connections and all that outside Botswana and stuff like that. It's more than $80 million, but this is just an estimate. And it creates approximately 76,000 jobs every year, so it's huge. And this is where I'm heading when I graduate. I want to get into tourism. The other thing is our education. So our education system is somewhat free. Okay, when I say somewhat free, I mean from crash or elementary, or I don't know, but the lowest grades, yeah, from there to like high school is technically free, because all you have to pay for the entire year is about $50, and that's it. And the $50 is just for maintenance, to pay a few people, and you know, it's community based, so sometimes members of the community help. Like, this is not really at school, but this is how we eat. We have people from members of the community cooking for the students and feeding them breakfast and lunch every single weekday without fail. So the school fees is for them, it's not for the education itself. But before that, there was no school fees. I remember we had to bring firewood and stuff to school. The kids today no longer do that. And as you see, this little boy, that used to be me. Whenever we prayed, I would open my eyes and look around, but I was naughty. And when he goes to high school, to university, we have student loans. So student loans, they're not the student loans in America. It's not the same. You get a grant, and then you're only asked to pay 25% off that grant when you're done. And you're only asked to pay it when you have a job. If you don't have a job, nobody's gonna ask you to pay the money back. And also, you're only gonna be able to pay it if you're working for the government. So it's just, I still haven't paid my loans because I've never worked for the government. So I'm good. But it's a British system, so we speak English from primary school to the highest education. Everything is taught in English. Even my language is taught in English. Wild, I know. And the next thing is our healthcare, also somewhat free. I'll get to the somewhat free part in a bit, but if you are doing anything related to medicine, you want to do it for free, the government will pay for you to do it. So we have a lot of doctors and nurses in my country. And I pray that they are doing great during this time. And also they have practical programs. When you start medicine, your first year you're doing theory, second year you're doing practical. You are literally working on your second year of doing your medicine till you work for like 6 years before you graduate. And then the government also sends students outside to other countries for experience. And when I say the healthcare is somewhat free, I only have to pay 50 cents, 50 American cents to go to the hospital to get help that I need. But our medicine is free. The pharmacy, I don't know how the government did it, but it's been free since forever. So if you get sick in my country, you can freely go to the hospital. If you don't go, it's by choice, but it's never really about money. And then culture. As you, ignore the picture on the top right corner for now. As you can see, we still have primitive citizens. We still have people putting on clothes like these. And the government decided we're not gonna touch this tribe. We're not gonna do anything to them or for them. We're gonna let them live the way they wanna live. So this is the tribe, these are the original people. And then this is like an imitation. I used to dance. So this was after my competition, yes. And also in our culture, we're very big with agriculture and tourism. I already talked about tourism, and agriculture involves cows. We grow our own food. So we are very self-sustainable. And then there's dance. So for those who came a little earlier, there was a video playing of dance. We have different types of dance. We have setapa, patisi. This is called patisi, where it's like gumboots. We have tutube, kalanga dance. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna show you all these dances or dance moves, but we have so many tribes, and each one of those tribes have their own unique dance. And to learn all of them is gonna take you a lifetime, but it's such a beautiful experience. Every dance you see is just different, and it's amazing. And I will play a short video of like a minute after this. I'm going to talk about art, then I'll get to the video, and then we'll conclude the presentation. So art, we use our art for decoration. This was handmade. Everything you see here was handmade, and it's called tatana. Now, tatana is some form of a storage thing. It's like a container. And as you can see in the bottom video, you can put food in there. You can put all these beans. Now, I don't know what this is called, but sometimes when you walk into a home and you have a sort of like a bowl that has fruits in it, and it lives there in the living room just for decoration. Well, we decorate with beans and maize, so it's a similar thing. So right now, I'm going to quickly play a video of a dance move called setapa. Called patisi, so you see how it works. Okay. Let's go.
Sorry, Mo, we cannot see the video.
You cannot see the video?
You're still in your slides screen.
Okay. Maybe let me do this first and see if it works. Can you see the YouTube video? No. Okay.
Hey Mo, you have to unshare the screen and then share the
Oh,
yeah.
I get it. Thank you so much. There it is. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Beautiful. I was having fun all by myself. Okay.
Can you volume up a little bit? Thanks.
See? All right, I'm gonna end it here so that you guys, I leave you wanting more. So the last part I'm gonna talk about is food. And if you want that video, I will just type the name of the dance and you can find it for yourself on YouTube. So the last thing I will talk about is food. So we have different kinds of food, and I'm only gonna share, okay. I'm only gonna share a few. So first of all, our appetizer is called lechapu. Lechapu is watermelon. Is the one in the bottom right. This is our appetizer. All you have to do is to add a little bit of chili or chili pepper. Just sprinkle, and you mix that, the spiciness and the sweetness, they just to die for. And then we have something called dukobe, which is a mixture of beans and maize. And then we have magwinya. Magwinya is just fat cakes. You fry the fat cakes, you cut them in half, and then you put some fried mincemeat in there. Beautiful. I'm salivating. And then we have Seswaa. Seswaa is pound beef, and I think it's what Chef Jesse is gonna make today, but you will see after this. And we usually have Seswaa with pap, which is made of maize meal. And this is actually what I made not so long ago. It tastes so good. I wish all of you could taste it. I think my roommate is in this chat. He will taste it soon too. But anyway, this is the food that we eat. There's a whole lot more. And if you want to learn more about my country, I am always available and happy to talk about it. You can connect with me after this and we will talk more about it. But otherwise, that is the end of my presentation. And thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you. That's a great presentation. Thanks. Appreciate it. I do have a question, but because it's several slides ago, so I'm gonna post it now.
Yes.
So one question is about the diamond, which I care about a lot. But it's a question from one of our participants saying, who owns the diamond exactly? Do you have any idea about it? Like the government, a private company, or Botswana?
All right. Sorry, the video just played. Okay. Let me do this real quick, yeah. And
Sure.
then, because somebody asked for me to share the video.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Okay.
So the government owns 50% of the diamonds. The other 50% is owned by a company called DBS, actually by a family called DBS. They were the first to mine the diamonds back in the 90s. Actually, no, back in the 50s, in the 60s. So when they discovered the diamonds during colonization, they struck a deal. I think that's how we ended up as an independent country. There was a deal that was made that, okay, fine. If we take 50% of this, you can keep 50, you can be independent. And I don't know how everybody feels about colonization, but I'm salty about it. So right now, the current president is trying to gain 100% of our diamonds. He's trying to strike a deal so we own the 100%, because the main reason why that family owns it is because we are still using their mining machinery to extract the diamonds. So my current president, for those who don't know, I know most of you know that he's an FSU alum and graduated in 1989. And so he's trying to make these changes, and hopefully he will make it. But yes, 50% is owned by us, 50% is owned by DBS. And the painful part, I'll just share this, is that they get the diamonds as raw as they can be, and then they make jewelry out of it and sell us the jewelry. And we spend more money buying the jewelry than actually what we spend. So that is yet to change.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One more question from myself, me, is like, how long does it take to learn the dance you showed us? Do you know how to dance that?
I can show you now.
Really?
It doesn't, okay, let me show you real quick.
Okay.
It's all about stomping your feet and clapping your hands, okay?
Lovely.
So you have to clap your hands like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as you clap, for every one, you step. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then after that, it's all about adding some very fun things. Can be like one, then sweep, one, and sweep, one, step, step, one, and sweep, one, and sweep, one, step, step. I'll do that one last time because I see somebody standing and trying to learn. So I'm gonna count is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna step on 1 and you have to switch your feet. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right, 2, 3, left, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's fun. It doesn't take long. I don't know if it's my teaching or whatever, but I can easily teach you in an hour and you'll be perfect.
Yeah. It's super fun to watch them dance, and I bet it will be very interesting if you go with the music and dance with a group of people. That would be very, very nice. Yes. Thank you so much. That's a very nice presentation. Thank you for letting us know so many information about Botswana. Thank you.
Last thing to say bye, you have to say Husiane, and somebody already posted in the chat saying Sala Hanke. It means goodbye, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Elsik Haskola. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you so much. Alrighty then. Now we're gonna transition to our exciting part, Chef Jesse's cooking show.
Yay!
Chef Jesse, are you there?
Hi everybody. Welcome to the International Coffee Hour Cooking Show. Today we are featuring Botswana, which we just learned a whole lot from Mo. Thank you so much, Mo. That was a great presentation. I am going to show you how to make a full meal today. So I'm really excited about this. We're breaking out of our normal sweet pastry kind of zone, and we're getting into some meat, vegetables, and starches. And this is at first look, it looks like a pretty simple meal, but when it all comes together, it's really, really delicious. And I'm really excited to show you how to make it. The meat portion is the national dish, and it's called Seswaa. The starch part is cornmeal maize, and it is called pop. And here in the States, we can get this pan brand white cornmeal in the international section. And then the third part is called Morogo, and it is basically a stewed spinach dish with tomatoes, some peppers, some onion. This part is actually, from what I looked up, is the most kind of flexible. Some people put different things in it. Some people make it very, very simple. I'm going to show you one that has some different components to it. And but the rest of it, the Seswaa and the pop, is going to be very traditional. Since this was the national dish, or is the national dish, sorry, I did a little extra research on it just so that I didn't steer you in the wrong direction. And this is really, really interesting dish. It's beef, mutton, so sheep or lamb, so any kind of red meat. Typically, they're going to use meat that has bone in it. So right here, I've got a short rib, chuck short rib. It's got a nice bone in there. That's going to make it, the broth that it cooks in, really nice and rich. And then I've also just got some stew meat here. They both cost about the same at Publix. The stew meat comes pre-cut like this, so you don't have to bother cutting it, and it's in the right size and everything. So that one's really convenient. If you just use stew meat, it's going to work really well. Seswaa, from what I could tell, I mean, it's really an experience. So this is just making it home is an approximation. You know, it's not going to be the experience you'd have in Botswana. So if you really are intrigued by this, I would recommend going to Botswana, getting invited to a wedding, you know, going to one of their big celebrations and enjoying this. What's really interesting is that it's made in really large batches. It's cooked outside in a large, like 3-footed or 3-leg pot that is cooked over like an open fire. And it's really simple. They put the meat into the pot, they add a little bit of water, and they cook it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. I mean, these pots are big. They hold 20 pounds of meat, you know, maybe even more. And so they cook it and cook it. Once the meat gets tender, you can remove the bones, and then they pound it with different types of wood, like mallets or like, you know, different types of giant spoons and that kind of thing. And then from there, it's salted and then served with the pop and sometimes Morogo. And it's, you know, served in, you know, large celebrations and to large groups. So when it's cooked like that, you're just going to have so much more of a, you know, experience with. I mean, I think smoke probably is going to get into the meat flavor a little bit. Different recipes I was looking up, even some Botswanans in England are posting recipes for this, and they're adding like bay leaves and black pepper. And people back in Botswana, I was seeing posting and saying like, no, you can't add that stuff to it. That's not Seswaa. Like, you know, it's very basic, just red meat, preferably with a bone in it, salt and water. So let's get this one started. We're just going to get this on the stove real quick. I've just got a 2-quart sauce pot and a lid. I'm going to turn it up on high here real quick. Just going to put the stew meat in first. We're going to put in these ribs. And then I've got about ½ a cup of water here just to get it started. You want your meat to fill up most of the pan, and you want your water to come up just enough to kind of cover the bottom. Once the meat starts cooking and steaming in here, the meat shrinks and releases a lot of its own juice. And so it's really beef that's cooked in its own juice at the end of the day. So we're going to put the lid on here. We're going to leave it on high, but we're going to keep an eye on it. Once it starts boiling, we'll turn it down to low and let it simmer for 2 hours. Okay, so second step here, we got the pop. And you get 3 cups of water. You can get that boiling. Turn mine up a little bit. This one needs to sit for a little bit, so we can get this started now, and then we'll pull it out and finish it at the end. So I've got 3 cups of water boiling. Then we're gonna add 1 cup of the maize meal. All right, it's all the way back here. Let me move this, actually. Sorry, Lara.
Jesse, I have a quick question here from the chat
Sure,
box.
sure.
So how do we wash our vegetables and fruits effectively?
Okay, so yeah, all your vegetables and fruits, when you bring them home, I wash mine under running water, you know. I think that's sufficient for vegetables that you're going to be cooking, because any germs that are on there, you're gonna cook any of those germs and they're gonna die. So yeah, you're looking to remove any dirt or anything like that. Some places have like fruit and vegetable wash, which might have some kind of like antimicrobial action to it, but I think that's kind of overkill. But I mean, if you're really concerned about that, if you have health issues, that might be the way you need to go. And I think even in Publix, in the produce section, you can find something like that. It's like a product, you would spray it with it and then rinse it off.
Gotcha.
All right, so this is coming up to a boil here. So I've got about 3 cups of water. Actually, we're gonna add some salt to the water too. Let's just do about a teaspoon or so of salt. Use any kind of salt. I've just got my pink salt out here. You want to have your whisk here. This helps it from sticking. Still waiting for it to boil here. You can just put it in while it's hot. It doesn't have to be boiling. It's the same way you would make grits. How you start grits. Different kind of corn for sure. This maize meal, which makes it different from grits actually, is that the corn is pre-cooked and then it's dried and then it's ground. And so it's actually like an instant kind of thing. It will instantly cook in here, and then you simmer it for a few minutes. Oops.
So basically you have to do it at the same time, like
Yep.
at the same time, stir it. Okay.
Yep. And so you see it thickening up very quick here. And so you want this to get more thick than this. So we're gonna let it come up to a simmer. Ooh. And that will pop on you, and so watch out for that. That will stick to and burn you pretty good. So we're at a good simmer now. I'm gonna turn that down. And then we're gonna set it on a back burner on very low. And then I've got my makeshift lid here because I'm out of the lid, so I'm gonna put that on there. Okay, and at this point, here we go. The water started to boil in here already, so we're gonna turn this down low. Let me take a look at that. And kind of adjust things a little bit. You want to keep a little bit of water close by to this in case the water gets too low. You can always add more as you're cooking it, but you definitely don't want the water to, be too high, because you're going to really lose a lot of flavor that way. It's just going to be kind of watery. And cooking beef or red meat, tough cuts of meat, this is a very basic foundational cooking technique here. I think the English and French, they call it braising, but oftentimes they'll put it in the oven like this. They'll just cover it, put it in the oven, and cook it real slow. But this type of cooking for meat, when you get the meat off the bone there, you can use that meat for all types of things. You can use it for taco filling, or enchiladas, or really put it into soups, put it into all types of dishes. So this is just knowing how to cook tough cuts of meat will really open up a lot of culinary options for you. And so this is just going to chill here, cooking slowly, like at a medium low. Leave that fork there. Let's turn this one down. All right, so the pop is hanging out back here. We're going to let that sit. And then we've got my big kind of enamel pan here. This is what we're going to cook the vegetables in. You basically need any large pan with a lid. Okay. I'm preheating this one to about a medium low. So today, I'm also going to go through how to cook or how to cut up some different vegetables and how to do a little knife work. Since we're kind of doing some foundational cooking stuff, which is kind of exciting. We've got, for the Morogo, we've got about a quarter cup of vegetable oil. Got my salt here, which I'm just going to do salt to taste. Got 1 yellow onion, 2 tomatoes, 1 pepper, and about a pound of spinach. This does make a lot. You know, probably 6 servings. You could cut it down and do a half an onion, 1 tomato, half a pepper, half a pound of spinach, and it would work out fine too. These peppers right here, this is optional, but they look very much like the South African and Botswana pepper called peri peri. But these are from the Asian market, and they're a Thai bird-eye chili. It's the closest thing we can get here to the peri peri that's fresh anyways. It's a very spicy, fiery chili. And so you want to be careful when you're cutting this up or adding it into dishes. You want to either hold it by the little stem and cut it up, and then just cut it so much and toss it out, or definitely wear gloves, because this will travel on your fingers and burn your eyes, burn whatever you touch, basically. But yeah, the peri peri is optional. Different recipes I looked up for this, you know, I saw all types of stuff. There was one that had on Facebook that had like a little slash curry powder in there, and it seemed pretty legit, like from somebody from Botswana. I saw different recipes with like peanuts ground up in it, and Morogo itself is refers to the green. So the greens here we're using are spinach. In Botswana, they're going to use what's called cow pea. So it's a pea green, and oftentimes there it's dry, it's cooked and then dried and reconstituted and used in all types of vegetable dishes, all types of dishes. But it's also cooked fresh, and so that green is very widespread and used for all types of different dishes. But for here, a good approximation would be fresh spinach. This is baby spinach. You could also use kale. You could use really any leafy green that you want, as long as it's nice and dark and somewhat tender. It'll work. So, all right, so the first step here, the onion. The onion has 2 sides. We got the top side. This is the blossom end where the sprout will come out and it'll grow up. And then this end is the root end. The way I cut onions is I do a thin slice off the blossom end, and then this root end, I just might shave off that part because it might have a little dirt in it, but I'm going to leave the root end intact. And I'm going to cut right through the middle of that root. And that root's going to hold together the onion for us really well here. We're going to do a kind of not a fine dice, but a medium dice here. But if you wanted to do a fine dice, you could with this technique too. Okay. All right, so the onion, you want some kind of smaller knife, not a huge knife when you're doing vegetable prep. Laura saw my Chinese vegetable cleaver, so we could also use a vegetable cleaver. We'll use that in a little bit here. She didn't believe that I could actually cut with that, so we'll see what happens. So I've got it up on the root end here. It's kind of balanced. I'm just going to do 1 cut through here, and I'm going to leave it, you know, together. I'm not going to cut all the way through. Then I'm going to come across, cut about 1/4 inch strips, still leaving that end intact, and then you come across the top here, and then you have a nice medium dice. If you want to do a fine dice, you just do your cross pieces here closer, and you cut this way a couple times. I can do a fine dice on this one, that's for sure. But cutting onions for people can be pretty tough, and so this is just a really simple way to knock it out and keep it all together and make it fast. And so this one is going to be a fine dice. So I got 1 cut, 2 cuts, and you put it down here, 3 cuts. Something like this could be good in like a pico de gallo or some kind of salsa where you have raw onion, but you don't want it very large. So we're going to cut it small here.
That is super helpful, Chef. I got a lot of comments because I had a very exaggerated face when you show me how to cut onions because I had a very hard time to cut onions without crying and cutting
Oh,
into
yeah.
little cubes.
Yeah, I really can't help you with the crying part of it, but you kind of maybe build up a tolerance if you cut onions a lot. All right, so then we've got our oils, and then we're gonna add that to our warm pan here. We're gonna turn it up on about medium. And then we've got, the onions are gonna go right in. Turn that up a little bit. So you're gonna kind of gently cook these onions. We don't want it up on high. We don't want them to get brown or anything. We just want them to gently cook. Of all the recipes I looked up for this, there's a lot of versions. This one's a little more complicated than some. The most basic version would be taking your greens, putting it in the pot, cutting up some tomatoes, putting it in the pot, adding a little water, and steaming it all together. And that's also very acceptable as a side dish for this meal.
Chef Jesse, I have a quick question here.
Sure.
Can you
Yeah.
replace the yellow onion with the red one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's, this, what I like about this dish, which kind of makes this, you can be a little more creative. You could use a different type of onion. I didn't see that anybody used a different type of onion, that was presenting this dish online or putting recipes online, but really, I mean, I think that's totally up to your taste, and that's not a problem at all. I'm gonna add a couple of these bird-eye chilies. And so one thing, was that, you want to use this knife? Okay. I did get these from the Asian market. They do not have these at Publix, but they do have a variety of peppers. You could also do a little habanero. You could do the green serrano chili. Anything like that would be fine. Just a little bit of heat, or you could just leave it out completely. So yeah, we're just gonna do a real, slice them down here. 3 of these will make this pretty hot. All right. So these are gonna go in with the onions there. Turn this up a little bit. Okay. So we're gonna get that cooking, and we're gonna add a little bit of salt to this. This is just salt to taste. I'm not measuring usually when I cook savory food and I salt stuff, it's all to taste. I'm not really gonna have measurements for this kind of thing. And a lot of people, like more salt than others too. So it's really, the salt's gonna help in this cooking process right now. It's gonna start pulling liquid out of the onions, and so it's just gonna go a little bit faster. And I'm turning it up high just so we can get it going faster here.
So Chef Jesse, I have some questions about like finger safety, like how when you cut it with the different sort of knives, how do you?
Okay, so that's something that's like, like playing a guitar, you've got to move your hands in a certain way, and it's uncomfortable at first, but after you do it for, a week, or if you practice it on and on, it just becomes natural. So Laura, you come up closer. Whenever you're holding something like a vegetable or a meat or something, you want to have your fingers curled back. If you have that finger curled forward, you're going to cut the tip of it. If you have your thumb in front of your index finger, you're going to end up cutting it. So you want to have all your fingers curled, and then you want your knife to ride on that front of your fingers right there. So it's just become something you got to practice to get used to. And because you also, with onions and this, you've also got to grip it and hold it. So sometimes you're going to use your thumb and your fingers behind, and you always keep your other 2 fingers in front. And so your knife is going to ride on that edge, so it's not going to come back and hit these other fingers. I learned the hard way with knives, and young and early in my career, I got about 7 stitches in this finger cutting stale bread for bread pudding. Yeah, it was terrible. With actually that big knife right there, with this knife, about 20 years ago. Anyways. I used to use knife to open up coconuts. That's why it has all the chunks out of it. So, yeah. All right, so I'll show you. You can do a little more close up on my fingers if you want. So we're going to do this green pepper. One way I like to do the green peppers is just to cut planks off the sides. Keep all the seeds in the middle. Cut the bottom off here. You can trim a little bit of that if you want to. And then we're going to do this in strips. And so this is where actually the cleaver comes in handy. You can stack these up. Here, I'll do it this way. So I'm going to have my fingers here. I'm keeping the tip of my knife on the cutting board. So you're going to have a lot more control because you have 2 points of contact. And you start lifting up your knife and trying to cut like this, it's a lot more like out of control. So we're doing more like when I was teaching people how to do knife work, we'd say like this is like that the locomotive of the train. You know how it goes up and down, but it's always, you know, riding along the track. You want to have that smooth motion, and every knife has a certain kind of rock to it where it's angled and in a way that it has a natural motion. And so every knife is a little bit different, but you just have to kind of get into that. You can stack things to make it a little bit faster. Do 2 at a time, do 3 at a time. Try 3 to see if we can do it. Well, might have to. So I can do it without 2 points of contact just because I do it a lot. All right, so there's all the green pepper. And we're going to add it all into our onions, which are going good right now. Let's put all that another chili in there too. Okay. All right. So the onions, yeah, and the peppers, we're just cooking them gently here. We don't want them to brown. This is called sweating the onions. We're getting the onion juice to release and the pepper juice to release, and then it steams off and flavors concentrate, the sugars concentrate, and it all softens up. So when you're eating this, you're not going to have like a chunk of raw, crunchy onion. It's all going to be nice, soft, cooked vegetables. Mix in with the rest of this delicious food here. All right. Ooh, yeah. Those peppers are getting my throat a little bit. I might have to get some water in a second here. You doing okay, Laura? Yeah. If I turn on my vent fan, it's going to be a little too loud, so we're just going to have to tough it out. All right, so tomatoes, pretty straightforward. Just going to cut them, core them. Tomatoes we're going to want to cut pretty small because we do want them to liquefy and kind of turn into a sauce for this. All right, so I'm going to get through these. Okay. It helps when you're doing vegetable prep, make things go quicker if you do the same movement over and over. Instead of cutting one tomato all into one dice and moving the one tomato, do it all dice. You do your same, you repeat your same technique for each one, and then you move on to the next part. Oh, I mean, it's not sharp enough. Tomatoes can be tough to cut, so yeah, a serrated knife could be a little bit easier for you. Luckily, my small knife here is very sharp, so I can handle it. All right, so I'm gonna cut this. You could also just take this top one off and cut it by itself. That'll make it a little bit easier to cut through all that. It's the tomato skin that's really hard to cut through. Okay, now we're going to go across and just do a dice on these. Oops. There we go. It's sloppy now. All right.
So Chef Seswaa, while you're cutting, I have a question about the beef. So are you
Sure.
putting the blood before you put the beef in the pot?
No, we just put it straight in. You could rinse it if you wanted to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, once it's got to the grocery store, I mean, this was packed in the grocery store, so it's got that kind of layer that soaks up the leftover juice. And the stew meat does release a fair amount of like kind of blood and, you know, blood type liquid. And so, I mean, rinsing it, there's nothing wrong with that, and you can fully do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I made beef burgundy, we cut up all the beef and we soaked the beef in sparkling water for like 3 or 4 hours. And so, I mean, that's something you could do if you don't like the blood, or I think that actually helps the beef tenderize somewhat too. It's just a French thing. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it's just the way to do it. At least some cuts to it. So yeah, that's pretty spicy. These peppers are spicy, so if you use them, be careful. All right, so here we got our spinach. We can get some tongs going here. And we're just gonna add the spinach in batches here. And we're gonna stir it in. We're gonna keep our temperature up. We want the spinach to wilt. We'll get a lid on this in a minute. Wow. Get that chili steam out of here. So who likes spicy food out there? Anybody like spicy food? Would they do this with peri peri, or would they just do it without the chili?
I saw several hands here. I personally like spicy food a lot, but sometimes just I cannot take spicy. I believe a lot of people are like same with me. It just so addictive to take spicy food.
Yeah. How about Mo? Does Mo eat the peri peri chilies? Does he like those, or is that something that's just occasional?
It troubles my tummy, so I don't do it.
I got you.
Yeah. Also, my mom is allergic, so I didn't grow up eating anything chili or something.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely optional. Not necessary. All right, so this does look like a lot of spinach, but it really does cook down quite a bit. And the one really nice thing about all the components of this dish, the vegetables, the starch, and the beef, all of it can be reheated really well. The beef can be used for different dishes. You can flavor it in different ways. You can put barbecue sauce in it and make, barbecue beef. You could turn leftovers of the spinach into a soup. It could be a good soup base. And then the pop, I mean, you could reheat that up and have it with some eggs for breakfast. That'd be great too. All right, we'll close here on the spinach. All right.
So Chef Jesse, you're supposed to add the spinach like little by little, not like at one time. What's the difference of?
Yeah, it's just easier to get it all wilted in here together. If I was to pour it all in and try to stir it, a lot of it would fall out.
Mm.
And so it's just like one, small batch at a time. You get it all wilted, and then you can put the lid on here.
Is the onion supposed to be melt right now, or onions on the bottom?
Sorry?
Is the onion supposed to be like melt or like smashed right now on the bottom of the pot?
The onions.
Yes.
The onions. Oh, yeah. No. So the onions, if you get in closer, you can see they're kind of translucent.
Ah.
And so they've cooked enough, so they're not this isn't gonna cook so long that the onions are gonna get mashed. So this is all at this point just going to cook in the spinach's juice, because the spinach is gonna release lots of liquid. And so we've got it up, and we're gonna do it about to a medium high, and then we're gonna put a lid on it and get it down to low, and it's just gonna kind of chill while we get the rest of this together. Actually, sorry, look at that. I forgot the tomatoes. So once you get the spinach in, you're gonna put your tomatoes in. Actually, we're gonna have to turn that temp back up. Okay. All right, so let's stir the tomatoes in, and then we're gonna let it cook all down together. So yeah, it's like a tomato spinach juice that'll all steam in and get all super soft and delicious here.
And now still the medium heat.
Yeah, right now I turned it up to like medium high to get it boiling again, because those tomatoes are gonna cool it off so much. And so once it really gets going, I'll turn it down to like a medium low, and just let it chill while we finish here. Okay. Clean this up a little bit.
And I got some requests again saying if there is a drive-through, and everyone is so hungry right now watching you cooking, especially dinner time.
Well, I think Laura's gonna be the lucky recipient today. She's gonna get to try some. All right, so we got our salts over here. I'm gonna get rid of these knives. And so we're gonna pull, I've got this meat and it's ready to go. Let's grab one of these. All right. All right, so this beef has been stewing for a couple hours here. And actually I'm gonna need that. And so you see the bones here, the meat is just coming right off the bones. These are some of those chuck short ribs. So we're gonna take the bones out. Yes, oh, that's hot. And out. Let's see, there's one more I know in there. All right, there we go. All right, so all of our bones are out. We're gonna take and drain some of the juice off. Okay, you can leave a little bit of juice in there too. You don't have to drain all the juice off. Okay. All right, I can actually transfer this to a glass bowl so you can see it better. All right, I'm gonna transfer it to a glass bowl just so you can see it better, but you can pound it right in the pan that you cooked it in. I've got my giant spoon here, which I'm super excited about because I barely ever get to use it. So this is a great occasion for me. I'm gonna use my giant spoon to smash it, but you have 2 forks. You could basically just come in, start tearing it apart with 2 forks. And that works fine. One description I heard online that I thought was pretty good was you want it to get to kind of like a tuna fish consistency. So kind of flaky but broken up. And so this one I'm going to start with kind of just getting these big chunks mashed a little bit. And then you can come in and kind of do rapid. And you can kind of stir it too and just kind of breaking it apart. If you see, like those ribs have some fatty portions on them, you can pull that out if you don't want it. You could also leave it in if you like it. It's definitely edible.
I'm actually salivating right now. I wish I could come there and eat that food.
Yeah. So yeah, in Botswana, I think it's typical that men cook this dish too because it's so labor intensive to pound like the large pots of meat. It really takes a lot of effort and strength, and the pot itself is, you know, on an open fire, and so their utensils are huge. They've got like big, long sticks. You really once it ends, and they're just pounding the meat. And this is, pull this little rib thing out. At this point, we're going to taste it, and we're going to add our salt to taste on it. And you might think, oh, you know, it's just beef and salt and water. You know, it's really not that exciting. But it is truly delicious when it's mixed together with the pop. Something about that toasty kind of, you know, firm but soft corn, and it really goes well together and has a really pleasant taste. So here we go. Here's our salt. Make sure everything's good back there. I'm just gonna sprinkle in about a half teaspoon of salt or so. Mix that in. And so then we reserve some of this kind of cooking gravy on the side too. We can add in a little bit extra of that and kind of moisten it up a little bit if it seems a little dry. All right, let's give it a taste.
How does it taste?
It is delicious. It's very good. It's got, you know, beef cooked in its own juices primarily. So I mean, it's really got a rich, you know, beef flavor, very deep. You know, it really stays with you. And like I said, you could, you know, this is a base for all types of dishes from all types of cultures. You can do this with chicken, the leg and thigh. You can do this with all types of different meat. All right, so let's wrap this up because this is taking quite a while. Here's our plate. We're gonna pull out our pop. Pull this over. All right, so the pop has pretty much firmed up in here. This might be a little soft. Some of the versions online I've seen are really pretty firm. And so I think it might be up to kind of personal preference, but you definitely don't want it to be soft like grits or runny at all. You definitely want it to be thick enough that you can form things with it. And so we can do a little well here. Use my giant spoon for the meat. And even pour a little gravy over that. And then the vegetables. There we go. All right.
A little bit jumping. Mo, when is the last time you had this dish? Just curious. Do you want to unmute yourself?
I had this last year, July, at my big sister's wedding.
Oh.
I'm so sad, but I'm probably gonna make this right after. I'm salivating.
Yeah, I mean, there are students that they're trying to make this dish at the same time with Chef Jesse is doing it. So we highly encourage you to do it at the same time or afterwards. And you can feel free to post it in our Facebook page if you want. That would be super fun to see everyone cooking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so our Morogo turned out nice and spicy. I just tasted it. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt to it. My salt level for the beef, I like it pretty salty, but you know, that's up to you. I know Mo said that when he's out late, he likes his Seswaa to be extra salty.
Oh yes. And I'll just add this, Chef, that for Seswaa, 3 occasions, what I told Jess is that when you're out late and you come home, you need it to be more salty. When you're at a wedding, you need it to be perfectly seasoned. Like you need the perfect amount of salt. But when you're at a funeral, you don't add salt at all.
All right, so here's our side dish, Morogo. And that is the final plate there. Seswaa with pop and Morogo. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I know this is a little bit of a longer presentation, but I really appreciate everybody, you know, participating and joining in. This is definitely the highlight of my week, and without y'all, I wouldn't have, you know, be able to do this. So please come back, share this with your friends from FSU, and you know, if you all keep tuning in, we will keep doing it. So thanks a lot, Mo. Awesome presentation, and I think Yang, you're gonna take over.
Sure, I'm gonna take over from here. Thank you so much. But I have a last question here.
Oh,
How
okay.
long approximately does it take for you to cook this meat, like this tenderness?
1.5 to 2 hours. I mean, probably if you have the bone-in meat, definitely 2 hours. If you just use the stew meat, probably about 1.5 hours.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessie. It looks
You're
so
welcome.
good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All righty then. Okay. So thank you everyone to staying here to watch our Chef Jessie's cooking show. It looks so good. I hope when we get back in the fall we can have a chance to taste that. And I believe Mo, you want to taste that so much, and I'm with you.
Yes.
And without further ado, let me just like get into our